Good morning, everybody. Sam here, live on United People's TV on Friday, rubbing my hands together. The lighting's good. Tick. The mic's good. Tick. The doorbell's not going off. Tick. It's Friday. Triple tick. How are you all doing? This is going to be a bit of a transfer special show. I haven't really spoken that much about transfers in January, have I? There's been too many other important talking points. But there's 10 days left in the window. We've got a game against West Ham tomorrow. After that game finishes, there's 9 days left in a transfer window where we desperately know that we need a midfield signing. There's no football, right? So what I'm going to do in this video, we are going to take a look at all the latest, properly the latest news on Amadou Haidara and what Manchester United are going to do after, whether or not we're going to go after him. Denis Zakaria. Are we going to go after him? Frank Kessie, we're going to have a discussion about him. We're going to be speaking about Kessie Lingard. We're going to be speaking about Anthony Martial. And I am going to be answering your questions as I always do. Good morning to you. How are you all doing? I can see Peter in the comments. Is that Peter? I don't know whether that's Peter that's won the shirt, but Peter and Lisa, your shirts are going to be getting delivered today. I know it's fucking late. I'm sorry about that, but they're getting done. And today I'm going to be announcing the winner of the latest Ronaldo shirt. I've checked, and I think there's 5 more Ronaldo shirts to be won. So anybody who's a member, you've still got 5 more chances of winning it. And I'm still going to do the Cantona shirts giveaway. Paula, good morning to you. Gary, good morning to you on Facebook, my friend. How are you all doing? It's nice to see you all this morning. And Sandy, nice to see you there, joining back up as a member. Good morning to all of you, eh? Transfer news. We know transfer news is, well, we're waiting for it, aren't we? Because we know that we're just that midfield signing away. Still that midfield signing away from being what we would probably consider quite a complete side. And United's lack of movement has been very frustrating. But with everything that's been going on in the club in the last couple of weeks, we haven't had much time to really talk about it or focus on it because there's been bigger fish to fry. There's been bigger problems at the club, and it's been more of a conversation that we needed to have rather than speaking hypothetically about who we were or who we weren't going to sign. But as I said, as soon as this game against West Ham finishes tomorrow, there's 9 days left in the transfer window. And it's the international break. There's no distractions. There's no football. It's a pure focus on Manchester United signing a player. And we all know that we can do deals late in the window. We do deals late in the window. Bruno Fernandes, a couple of years ago in January, will show you that. But how are you? What's all your gut instincts telling me? Let me know what you think in the comments before I get into it. Do you think that United will actually sign someone? Or do you think this is all just hot air? Do you think the fact that we do have an interim manager makes it more difficult? X, Y, Z. There's a lot of things we need to speak about. Liam, you're saying here that word from Romano is that United are quiet for January. No signing incoming is looking likely. That's the word that we've been seeing everywhere. But I will run through all the updates so there's an update this morning from ESPN on Zakaria. We're going to be taking a look at what the German press is saying about Amadou Haidara. Can he be leaving Leipzig? Will he be leaving Leipzig? We'll speak about that. We're going to speak about Frank Kessie, AC Milan, and Tottenham Hotspur. We're also going to speak about Kessie Lingard and the latest on him from The Telegraph and from David Ornstein, as well as Anthony Martial. So there really are plenty of discussions. And we're also going to be speaking about Erling Haaland as well. Ian, good to see you this morning, my friend. You're saying the only reason we'd sign is if we sell. I'm not sure we want to sign for an interim manager. That's always been a bit of an issue, eh? That's always been a bit of an issue for Manchester United, is the fact that we've got an interim manager. It does make it more difficult. And that's the main first talking point that we've got to discuss here. This has come from Jonathan Schrager, who he's definitely got his sources in the club, given that remember when he was leaking the team every single week. He said, while Manchester United are monitoring players, including defensive midfielders, during the January transfer window, signing someone this month is rendered more difficult by Rangnick's insistence on ensuring that an incoming player will also fit the criteria for the next manager. Now, what's your initial reaction to that idea? My initial reaction is that's the right way to think, because we need to make sure that we're making signings for the right reasons. That's the analogy that I've always stood by. Manchester United, like right now, it's like being stoned, going into a supermarket, and everything looks appealing. You want the bagels, you want the sandwiches, you want the wraps, you want the pasta, you want the bread, you want everything. You want the sweets, chocolate. Everything looks appealing. And that's what Manchester United are like going into this transfer window. every single midfielder, you'd be like, oh yeah, I could see how that can improve United. I could see how he improves United. And that's what I want to focus on this video. I'm going to be speaking in depth about Denis Zakaria, Amadou Haidara, and a little bit about Frank Kessie as well. They're the three main focuses here. Now, of course, I could speak about Frankie de Jong. I could speak about Ruben Neves. I could speak about Wilfred and Ndidi. I could speak about Yves Bissouma. There really are so many midfielders that we could be speaking about. But I don't think it's right that we waste our time speaking about all of them. And maybe you could say, Sam, well, who are you kidding? We're wasting our time speaking about Denis Zakaria and Amadou Haidara. And maybe we are. But if we're going to make a signing in this January transfer window, I think it's going to be one of those two. Paula, you're not feeling that confident. You're saying you don't see us signing anybody. Yash, you're saying this is by De Jong and loaning back to Barca. They'd love it. I mean, Barca are trying to get rid of Dembele as much as possible. Thomas asked yesterday whether or not I felt that we should go for Dembele, and I would hold a 400-mile barge pole between United going after Dembele. We don't need to absorb that issue and absorb that problem. As good as a player as he could be for United, and of course we're going to need to bring in some proven goal scorers. Given the fact that Cavani's leaving and given the fact that Ronaldo's coming up to 37, Dembele is not a proven goal scorer. He's a proven injury record, and that's just not something United need to bring onto our books. Adesina, you're saying I don't see the possibility of signing any new player this month, but I believe Ndidi from Leicester would solve our defensive midfield headache. That guy would be the best. We all know about Ndidi, and we all know that he's a player that everybody's admired for a long, long time. But let's get into this, right? Let's get into speaking about it. This will be a full update and run through on Zakaria, on Haidara, and Kessie as well as Lingard and Martial. So please, if you would, consider dropping a like on the video, and please keep firing your comments in throughout the show. As I said, so later today, I'm going to have my starting 11 prediction for the West Ham game. That's going out later, hopefully lunchtime. Then we've got the game tomorrow at 3 p.m. against West Ham. But after that, it's pure focus on transfers between that game and the end of the transfer window on the 31st of January. And you know where to be. You know where to be. United People's TV, I will be covering everything in as much detail as I possibly need to. But Denis Zakaria, right? He's the first name on the list. And he's the first name on the list because for me, it strikes me as the simplest name on the list, the cheapest name on the list, and therefore the most likely name on the list when it comes to Man United signing somebody in January. A couple of comments here from members. And remember, by the way, when it comes to me reading comments out, I've had some feedback from everybody. I don't have any priority for the comments I do read out apart from members. If you're a member, either on Facebook or YouTube, it's part of the perks. If you've been a member, you've supported the channel by becoming a member, I'll always read your comments out first. Sir the Giant, you're saying, do you think they must know who the next manager will already be? Sir, I reckon that shortlist is extremely short. And I'd be very surprised if there's any conversations going on behind the scenes about anybody else apart from Poch or Ten Hag. Therefore, it should be really quite easy to plan towards it. They do have similarities in how they play football. Both adopt a pressing style. Both are quite intense. So I think the signings would be quite easy to do to match both of them. But I don't think we've completely chosen on one yet. I think we should. And I do agree with the idea that the earlier we announce that we've got a new manager in, the better. It's no disrespect to Rangnick. He knows he's an interim manager. He knows he's going into a consultancy role. So it won't be sweeping the carpet from under his feet. And it would serve United better to know earlier. Sandy, you're saying give Donny and Garner a chance. They will not disappoint. Donny's not really the sort of midfielder that is going to solve our problems in the number 6 role, is he? Donny can certainly step in for Fred and be a more comfortable with the ball at his feet, stronger in possession. Of course, there's definitely things that Donny could do that Fred can't do. But in terms of that powerful midfield role, Donny van der Beek has never been the answer. Has never been the answer. Darren, what you're saying here, sir? Sandy thinks Sevilla will come back in for Martial when they sell Diego Carlos. Martial, I've got the latest from Spain and Marca on that. That's coming later in the show for sure. Shane, you're feeling chippy this morning saying, stop going on about it. They are going nowhere. Well, let's hope we're wrong, eh? And United, it's not as if you need to be a rocket scientist to see where United's weaknesses are and where the opportunities are in the transfer market. Both of them are very easy to see, which is what makes it all the more frustrating to see that United in the 21st of January, we've really not done much. But we have typically in the last few years, there are more than one example. Cavani is one, Falcao's another. The two that pop straight into my head, Bruno Fernandes was late in the window as well. Manchester United do move late in windows. We rarely move early. Rarely. So while my gut is telling me that we're probably not going to sign anybody, I'm not ruling it out yet. I think it would be foolish to rule it out. So let's get the latest on Denis Zakaria. Now, we all know about Denis Zakaria. Plays for, Borussia. It's always the hardest. Borussia Mönchengladbach. Longest name in the world. Plays for Borussia Mönchengladbach. 25. He's a proper, big, physical, defensive midfielder. And he's been linked with Manchester United. He's been linked with Liverpool. He's been linked with plenty of clubs. This is the latest from ESPN this morning on Zakaria, saying that Liverpool, along with Bayern and Dortmund, are all the front runners to sign Zakaria this month. No mention of Manchester United at that point. He's out of contract at the end of the season, and agents have held some talks with some of Europe's biggest clubs. A source close to the negotiations said Liverpool, Dortmund, and Bayern are the three sides who have made the most serious approach. Let's go down and see where Manchester United are being mentioned. Mönchengladbach are open to letting him leave this month to avoid losing him for free in the summer. And the players' camp are negotiating with a view to making a move in January. They've also held talks with Juve and Manchester United, but here comes the caveat. But a move to Old Trafford is viewed as an unlikely option in terms of this transfer window. A source said the uncertainty at United with interim coach Ralf Rangnick only in place until the summer has counted against them. Now, that's kind of been the tone that's been there all along when it comes to Zakaria. Now, Zakaria is somebody who he's cheap as hell. Really is cheap. You're looking at 6 to 8 million euros, I think, is the price getting linked with him. And that's cheap. And that's not a risk at all for Manchester United. I've said it before. I said Manchester United have turned down an offer of 6.7 million from Flamengo for Pereira, a player who is out of the picture completely at United now, completely out of the picture. So why don't we just sell him, take that money, spend it on Zakaria? Because Zakaria, if you take a look at the stats, and this is what I'm going to be doing in this video, I'm going to be taking a look at the stats of each player, Zakaria, Haidara, and Kessie as well, and where they fit in at Manchester United and which one is the most important. Because I've already done this before, right? If you've watched my videos, I've done a full story video on Zakaria, on Haidara, and overall at the Manchester United's defensive midfield options in terms of who we could sign this. And I said which one was the most likely. And if you take a look at Zakaria's stats, because if we're being honest, the profile of the player that we need in January is now, if 4-3-3 is going to be what we're going to towards the end of the season, because this conversation's changed a little bit. If you had asked me this maybe like 2-3 weeks ago, I would have said Haidara would have been definitely our top choice, because Rangnick was trying the 4-2-2 and it suited him a little bit more. But now that we're looking at this 4-3-3, I think Zakaria ticks the boxes more than Haidara for what we need anyway. If we go down here, we see, look, Zakaria does not really contribute to anything when it comes to not bringing the ball forward, but in terms of the attacking sense, that's not his game. What he's very, very good at, as you can see. So what these numbers mean here, it says 94. It'd be like, Sam, what does that mean? So this works on a percentile. That means that if 100% is all of the midfielders, it means that he's better than 94% of midfielders when it comes to pass completion. He's in that top 6% of midfielders when it comes to pass completion. And he's in that top 9% when it comes to dribbles completed. Zakaria is somebody who very, very easily could do this, right? Let me bring up the board. Zakaria could come in here and play that role. I've said this before. That is what Zakaria would do at United, and that's what he would do very well. As you can see from the stats here, right? So he's in the top 6% for pass completion and top 9% for dribbles completed. That means that Zakaria could quite easily just receive the ball from Lindelof or Varane very comfortably, maybe skip past the player and simply find his teammate. And he's very, very good at doing that. He's not particularly good at doing much else, right? But he doesn't need to be. So in terms of a specialist signing, and maybe that's why we don't. But I'll tell you one thing, right? This is where I'm a little bit confused. Does it really matter who's coming in next? Whether it's Pochettino, whether it's Ten Hag, whether it's somebody else? All of them are going to want a powerful central midfielder that Manchester United do not currently have. All of them. It's a Bagel FC. It's such a massive hole inside our midfield. So Zakaria or Haidara, surely all of them would appeal to basically every manager because United just do not have that player. And that I think that's why a lot of people are sort of frustrated because, it's got to be someone who's perfect for Ten Hag or something. Because if you go back to what Jonathan Schrager there was saying about Rangnick's insistence, the insistence there that incoming player will also fit the criteria for the next manager. I just find it odd. And as I said, if you're taking a look at where Zakaria has played over his career as well, it makes sense too. Look, he's played 152 times as a defensive midfielder. He's played 47 times as a central midfielder and 18 times as a centre back. Zakaria is a defensively minded, physical, what is he, 6'3", I think he is? Confident, strong player who could come in there and play that role that Scott McTominay played against Brentford. That's what he would do. Amadou Haidara would be a very, very different type of signing. What do you think? I'm going to go down here and read a few of your comments out here about Zakaria, about Manchester United. By the way, I decided to headbutt a kitchen cupboard yesterday. It's really nice. Come on, right. Little scratch. Feel sorry for me. The disrespect to Matic, says Mshah, is a bit unjustified. He's our best CDM, no doubt. I don't think anybody disagrees with the fact that Matic is our best CDM. I also don't think anybody disagrees with the fact that you can't play him for 90 minutes week in, week out. And you have to gauge when to use Matic, when to take Matic off. He simply doesn't have the legs or the recovery for it. And that's just down to age. It's not because he's a crap player. It's just called getting old, people. It happens. And Matic is a prime example of that. Go down here, read a few of the comments. And Anthony, what are you saying here, sir? We need to be smarter than we have before and sign a player that's going to improve our team and not just buy just to sign someone in the window. I think that's definitely part of it, my friend. And that's why we've been a bit slow with what we've been doing. That's why we haven't signed anybody. But also at the same time, I just don't rule it out. I know that all of our guts are telling us that we're not going to sign anybody this window. But I still think there's a possibility. Maybe it's blind hope. Warren, what are you saying here? Nice to see you, buddy. I would definitely buy him for 8 mil for a Carrick Matic type player that fills a gap at United. That's what I would call Zakaria. I would call it. He's basically a stocking filler. He's not your main present. You're still waiting for that in the summer. But it would definitely improve United's options. Maybe it wouldn't be the best move for Zakaria in his career. And I would understand the trepidation there because he's basically thinking, right, okay, I'll go there. What if it doesn't work out? What if the next manager that comes in doesn't want to play me? Then he's just going to move on again. It'll be a lot of disruption moving from Switzerland to Manchester and then having to move from Manchester to wherever he's going to go next. I understand that, but it would certainly suit Manchester United, that's for sure. Ivan saying, I wonder where this channel has gone. We're stuck watching that woke bloke with a beard toast. Yeah, sorry, Ivan. I had COVID. I had another illness. Then I had to go away for a funeral for about a week. But we're back in business now. And I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to the next 9-10 days. I'm looking forward to seeing what United do and following it and reporting it and bringing it to you. Klein, you're not wrong here when you're saying we need 2 midfielders. We all know that. Absolutely. Sean, what you're saying? I think we might not buy anyone or miss out on a bargain and regret it. Hell, United have got a lot of regret from the transfer windows we've had in the last few years. Let's be completely and utterly honest. But Zakaria, we all know he's cheap. We all know he's available. We all know that Borussia Mönchengladbach would sell. If we're not going in for him, it must mean that the club doesn't think he's right. But me looking at the stats, looking at what sort of midfielder he is and where the holes in our squad are, I can see Zakaria slotting in. It wouldn't be a round peg in a square hole or square peg in a round hole. Square peg in a round hole. It would match up. It would definitely match up because if we're going to play the 4-3-3, we're going to need players to rely on in that defensive midfield role. And I don't think Matic and McTominay are enough. Skiller with a comment here saying, let's be real, there's a massive disrespect to McTominay. If we get a BCDM, we're def playing with Bruno and McTominay as the CD as a central midfielders. He's playing for the badge. This isn't a disrespect to McTominay. But let's be real here. If you want to be real, McTominay has only played that position twice for Manchester United. Once he was abysmal against Villarreal. And second time, he was arguably man of the match against Brentford. Fantastic. He really, really was. But he is a player learning the position whilst playing for Manchester United. Like we've had manager learning on the job, like we had coaches learning on the job. It might work, it might not work. But is that going to really help us get into that top 4? Because the top 4 looks hard as hell this year. Spurs have got 2 games in hand. I think if they win both of them, they're 2-3 points behind Liverpool in second. Liverpool and City are definitely going to be top 2, I think, anyway. And then you got Chelsea, you got that Spurs team, you got us, you got have you got Arsenal? I don't really know, man. Technically, you got Arsenal, but I don't think you got Arsenal. It's hard, and this top 4 race is looking serious this year. And I'm not sure we've got enough there to go and win it. Harry, you're asking about John McGinn. The Aston Villa midfield is being linked with Manchester United, but not until the summer. So John McGinn's not something we really have to worry about, in my opinion, anyway, until then. So don't worry about that. Not for now. Zico saying Donny over McTominay. Not in that position. I think if you had played Donny in that position against Brentford, the holding midfielder, the disciplined holding midfielder, physical prep, he wouldn't have played it as well. That's my own opinion. Of course, you're entitled to you there. Clem, you're saying, I think if we buy Zakaria, he deserves to be given a fair chance rather than looking at him as a stopgap measure. Otherwise, why bother? You're right there completely. And that would be down to Zakaria coming, shining and showing, I'm better than you thought I was. You can't kick me out of the team now. And if he does that, keep him. Boom. Wants to play, wants to commit, wants to show himself on the pitch. Then great. I'll be all aboard that train. But whether it's Zakaria or not, we know that we need a powerful defensive midfielder. And that's where, if we move on to the next conversation here, and this is about Amadou Haidara, this is where the conversation changes a little bit, right? Because in my opinion, well, it's not in my opinion, they're very different types of midfielders. So if we rewind a few days here to what Jonathan Schrager said about Amadou Haidara, and he's not the only person to have reported this. Manchester United did enter talks. The dialogue is open between Manchester United and RB Leipzig over Amadou Haidara, right? We know that. That's been the case for a good while now. And Haidara is somebody that Ralf Rangnick knows. And you can see him. Haidara would be far more of a signing for Ralf Rangnick than anybody else. He's a signing that would come in and really have suited that 3-2 system. If we go over here and we see what's being said out in Germany, I mean, look, this is from Bild. This is from the newspaper, a full double-page spread on Rangnick, on Haidara, speaking about Poch as well. Sod knows what else it says. But the Haidara and Rangnick story has probably been the one that's been talked about most, in this January transfer window. It was certainly the name that came out early. It was a name that came out at the start of December, as far as I remember. Fabrizio Romano saying that that's how early the talks were beginning. And there's no doubt that Haidara would suit the system that he was trying to implement. And if we take a look here at his stats, as I said, look, remember these are the stats for Denis Zakaria. We go up here, his pass completion, 94, his dribbles completed. We go down here, he's very good at interceptions and blocks, not particularly good at pressing or tackling. And if you're looking at his contribution going forward, he's quite weak. He has his strengths, but he has his weaknesses. Compare these stats here to Amadou Haidara's, who is completely and utterly different. He's somebody who contributes up front. Non-penalty goals in the top 10% of midfielders, top 15% for XG, top 20% for shots. Look at that. We go down here, progressive passes, progressive carries, dribbles. But look at his pass completion. It goes to show you that he's a bit more of a dangerous, not dangerous, but he plays in more dangerous areas. He's not a defensive midfielder. We go down here, pressures are okay, interceptions not there, blocks good because he's an aggressive more of a central midfielder to an attacking midfielder. He's not the same in any way, shape, or form to Denis Zakaria. And that's what I mean. A few weeks ago, I would have been more inclined to say that Haidara would have been a perfect signing because United were playing two central midfielders. We were going in the 4-2-2. I could see him lining it up alongside McTominay and then playing Bruno and Sancho or something in front of them. But in terms of a pure holding role, Denis Zakaria would be far better than Amadou Haidara for Manchester United if we're going to be playing this 4-3-3. And I think we've seen elements of it working. I hope you enjoyed. What do you think about my video yesterday, by the way? I took a look at the 4-3-3 in a bit of detail, took a look at the Brentford and Villa games and where I see the problems, where I see the positives, the pros and cons of that 4-3-3. But Haidara, if he is the main person on Manchester United's list, would not strike me. Because look, let's have a look at his positions. He's played central midfield 139 times. He has played defensive mid 21 times. But look, he's played attacking mid 9 times. Right mid 14 times. Left mid 4 times. He's played in attacking positions overall more than he's played in defensive positions. So if we were looking at this formation, right, and we were going here saying, look, this is where Denis Zakaria would play, right? I don't think that's where Haidara would play if he came in. I think it would be Haidara coming in for someone like Fred. I would say that would be far more likely if we saw Haidara coming in. And that's what I mean when I say they're different players. So if we're looking at signing Zakaria, where would he play? If we're looking at signing Haidara, where do I think he would play? Where would be the most suitable position for him? I'd say it'd be there. And that's what I mean when I say that maybe now on paper, if we're sticking to this 4-3, because a couple of weeks ago, I think Ralf was pretty determined to make his 4-2-2 system work. He tried it. But then he went to the 4-4-2, 4-2-3-1, 4-4-2 diamond. He kept switching formations and just none of them were really working. And that's why I think that now maybe Haidara wouldn't be as suited to what Manchester United need right now. And that's a 4-3-3. And that is a holding midfielder, which is why on paper, I think maybe Zakaria would make more sense. Now, Sam, you got a good point here. You've also got a cracking name. Saying Haidara replaces Fred as an 8, Zakaria replaces Fred as a 6. You could get both. Of course you could get both. I don't think you get both, but the Manchester United need over the next couple of transfer windows a minimum of 2 central midfield signings in now and in the summer. Plenty of you are talking about Herrera in the comments. Herrera was in no way, shape, or form a defensive midfielder. He was somebody who put himself about, but he was far more like Fred than he is like Matic. Herrera was. I did like Herrera though. I'm sad to see him leave. But the time that he left, remember the whole contract situation kind of came from the Sanchez situation. We gave Sanchez way too much money. Herrera then wanted a bit more parity, and the club were like, nah. And there's something that we have to consider about with Amadou Haidara as well. Is this right? So Haidara, let's say we go and sign him, and let's say I'm right, and that this is his best position. What happens when this happens then? Because I think when Pogba comes back in and he's fit, I think Pogba starts every week for Manchester United up until the end of the season. Whether or not he leaves, that's a different conversation altogether. But if he wants to use these last 3 months as a shop window and give us his best form, then we're going to benefit from that as a football club. So if that is his best position, then is Haidara really the signing that we need that's going to change our midfield shape? Maybe, maybe not. And I'm not saying that Haidara couldn't play here, right? Because he could. He absolutely could. Maybe I'm wrong here. Maybe I'm completely wrong. Maybe Haidara could come in and play that role and play it in a very pressing and aggressive manner. But as a pure defensive midfielder, Zakaria ticks more boxes in that sense. Let me go down here and I'll start reading a few comments out here. I've been speaking for a while. I'll be interested to know what you think about everything here. Joda, good morning to you, my friend. Nice to see you there in the comments. Chris Boyle, you're saying, was it true that Ralf said AWB, Shaw and Maguire need to leave? That came out from Graham Bailey, I believe. And he's the only journalist who's come out and said anything. So right now, let's pump the brakes on that one before we jump to any assumptions. There's a comment here from the Sophisticated Mafia. Why isn't Ghana an option for you? I don't think Manchester United are going to take him away from Nottingham Forest. I think he's doing well there. And I don't think that we should be looking at James Garner as the solution to our problems right now. Taking him away from a good loan spell and making him play. He's not going to play every single week ahead of McTominay, in my opinion. Anyway, and you're saying this is not going to be a popular viewpoint, but I honestly don't think new signings are going to help right now. Certainly not Zakaria or Haidara. And what you're doing was such a ridiculous comment. But no, look, Manchester United as a club, it's a tough environment for new signings to come into. That's for sure. But we do need somebody. In my opinion, I would disagree slightly and say we need a body in midfield there. We do need a body. I'm not just talking anybody. I'm talking about the right body. Whether that's Zakaria, whether that's Haidara, I don't really know. Victor, you're saying Pogba starts every week. You can't say that about the others. I mean, you can say that about Bruno. Who else can you say that about? You can say that about De Gea. You can say that about Varane. Probably the only players you can really say that about are Manchester United. Right now, you're saying Lingard, but that could obviously change. I don't think he's going to play every single week. Stephen, over on Facebook, what are you saying here, sir? I think they need to look at a central defender. Maguire came on as a sub and moved the ball onto Ivan Toney to score once again and was nutmegged incredibly. I don't think Manchester United are going to be focusing on signing a centre-back. I think we've got Varane, we've got Maguire, we've got Lindelof, we've got Bailly, we've got Jones. We'll ship one or two centre-backs out before we bring in any new centre-back. And if we do bring in a new centre-back, then it has to call the end for Harry Maguire. Otherwise, why would we sign one? Let's go down here. Lots of you are mentioning Bissouma, Tchouameni. No movement on Tchouameni. I know that lots of us were linked. We were excited about the links that came in the summer. The Monaco midfielder. Nothing's happening there. Boubacar Kamara, who I think plays for Marseille. Man, so much information up there. Jeez. No movement on him either. It's all gone quiet on the Western Front. It's all quiet on the Western Front, really, in most places. But the three names that keep popping up: Denis Zakaria, Amadou Haidara, and the man we're going to speak about next, Frank Kessie. Now, before we do move on here, ladies and gentlemen, you know what day it is. It's Friday. It's Friday, right? We're going to go watch United draw against West Ham tomorrow. Dead excited for that. But before we do, I have to announce the winner for this week's. We're back, baby. We're back in business. We're back with the Ronaldo shirt. Come on. And remember, as I say, is my caveat every single week, these are not from the Mega Store, and the Glazers get absolutely nothing from these. So, oh, Jesus. That's the microphone I just elbowed. So, don't get annoyed with me for that. But the winner, chosen at random for this week's shirt, is Lewis Williams on Facebook. I'll go, look, where's my little cheer? Where is it? Where's my cheer? Applause. Yeah. Yes, Lewis. Congratulations, my friend. You have won this week's Ronaldo shirt. I will be messaging you on Facebook, so don't worry about that. I'll get in contact with you. It's so annoying that you can't get in contact with the winners on YouTube. But I believe I've got another 5 shirts left. So we'll run this competition still for the next few weeks. And I've got the 5 Cantona shirts to give away. I don't know. I'm going to hold those back for a little bit. I want to make sure that giveaway is really, really good. But congratulations to you, Lewis. Big up to you. I'll contact you on Facebook. And as I said, Peter out in South Africa and Lisa, I will get those Ronaldo shirts sent out for you today. And I really, really apologize that they're a month late. But don't hate me. Thank you. And today is the Fable Map Day, by the way. So throughout the stream, you let me know where you're watching from, and I'll get it up on here. Anuj, you're asking about a YouTube winner. I was being generous up to Christmas, and I was giving 2 away every week. I'm not going to give 2 away every single week. Come on, baby. Let's not be crazy. So the winner's going to be chosen at random now from YouTube or Facebook, and it was Facebook today. Is what it is. Gungshi, good morning to you. Saying hope I've just got in. Hope everyone is well. I hope everyone's well as well. Sanjay saying, how can I personally contact you to talk about things apart from football? Not really. I suppose you can just join the WhatsApp members group. And if anybody isn't a member, I'll say it now quickly before we move on and we speak about Frank Kessie. If you'd like to support the channel, please consider dropping a like on it. Please consider sending a super chat, or please consider becoming a member. As I said, it's a couple of quid a month. It's your way of supporting the channel. I bought a new mic this week, bought new lights. Everything that's coming in, I'm investing back into the channel to hopefully make it bigger and better and a higher production quality. And you're helping me do that. So big up to you. We've got Cedric watching from Tucson in Arizona. Oh, that can go on the map. Why not? Good morning. Good morning to you. It's definitely good morning to you, isn't it? Watching all the way from Arizona. Onto the map you go. And then we'll head into conversations about Frank Kessie. Now, I know Frank Kessie is a... Congratulations, though, buddy. Cedric, nice to see you there. Hope you join as a member. I'd like to see you stick around. But look, let's crack on here. Let's talk about Frank Kessie. Frank Kessie, I know, is a midfielder that a lot of Manchester United fans like. I think he would be a good signing. Of course, he'd be a good signing. As I said, that Manchester United need... we need midfield signings. Simple as that. But Frank Kessie, it's all a bit quiet on the Western Front, and it's louder when it comes to Spurs. This is from Sky Sports yesterday, saying Tottenham want to sign AC Milan's Frank Kessie in January and have spoken to Wolves about... Who cares about Traore? Kessie's Milan, his contract expires on the 30th of June, and he is free to speak to clubs outside Italy, with Spurs having already held talks with the midfielder's representatives over a free transfer in the summer. So Frank, who is out at the African Cup of Nations, with the Ivory Coast, they bashed Algeria yesterday. Big up to them. Had them in accumulator. Come on. He is, again, if we're looking at midfielders that suit Manchester United's exact needs right now, you're putting Frank Kessie in the same conversation as Amadou Haidara rather than Denis Zakaria. That's what I think anyway. There's a comment here coming in from the fabled man himself, Gungshi. How you doing there, Gungshi? We need to get you into the mods group, I think. We have to get, for sure, someone sort that out. I think we've already tried to sort that out. Or maybe you are in there. I don't know. Sean Peters, you're saying that Kessie's a no-brainer. But bog mistake? Maybe it's a bog mistake. Might be a bog mistake. It's a big mistake if we don't go after him and he goes to Spurs. Well, I thought that with Ndombele as well. That hasn't quite worked out, has it? I'll definitely take him. But if you're looking at Frank Kessie, right, these are his stats. As I said, if we're comparing it to Denis Zakaria, who I would argue out of these three signings is the purest defensive midfield option, let's compare that to Frank Kessie, who again has a lot of similarities, I would say, to Amadou Haidara by comparison. He definitely contributes going forward far more than Denis Zakaria. Good pass completion. Look, touches in the attacking penalty area, top 10% of midfielders. Progressive passes received, top 15% of midfielders. He's not someone who's going to press or tackle or intercept, but he blocks because he's playing in that position when he's further up the pitch. And if we're taking a look at where Frank Kessie has played in his career, he has played defensive midfield a hell of a lot. He has played central midfield a lot as well. He's more of a box-to-box midfielder than he is a than he is a defensive midfielder. So again, I would do the same thing. I'd have the same conversation that I had with Amadou Haidara. I would say Kessie would go in there to maybe be a different alternative to Fred, rather than playing him there. Circles, go away. Got to do this live, Normally, when you're on TV, you get someone else to do this for you. But nah, got to do it all myself. Yeah, so Haidara there, and then McTominay there. So if I am being honest, if we signed these three players, any of these three players, these are the three positions I think that they would most likely play. If we signed Zakaria, I think he would play as a defensive midfielder at the bottom of a midfield three. If we signed Haidara, I think he'd go in there and be an alternative to Fred. And if we signed Kessie, I think he would operate in the same position. But at the same time, the counter argument is fair. He is a very good central midfielder. We need central midfielders, and he's going to be available on a free in the summer. Would it not be a no-brainer to go for him? And that's where I can sort of semi-agree with you. Manchester United clearly don't. That's why we haven't really gone aggressively for any midfielder who would be cheap. Zakaria would be cheap. Kessie would be cheap. But we haven't made too many moves. Let me go down here and see what you're saying. Ibrahim with a random comment. Wan-Bissaka can become a centre-back and be very good. Maybe. He is a proper number 6. McTominay is a number 8. I'm not sure if you're talking about Kessie or not. But Manchester United, as much as we would like to be linked with Kessie, it's very quiet on the way. Of all the three players, Zakaria, the links are still there. The links are still being discussed. Haidara, the links are still there. The links are still being discussed. Kessie, the links were there, but were never really there. I don't think Kessie has ever really been on Manchester United's radar. Okay, as much as any of us might like him, but the important thing to remember here, right? We've been speaking here for 40 minutes. I hope you enjoyed it. It's been a good show this morning. Manchester United need to sell players. We're having loads of conversations here about all these players that we could sign, X, Y, Z. But the reality is the squad's a bit bloated, and Rangnick knows that he needs to get rid of players before he probably can bring players in. And that's where we go back to the latest on Jesse Lingard. This came from the Telegraph yesterday, saying that Newcastle have gone back in with a second loan bid for Lingard. They want him. They want him. We go down here, we see what the story is saying. Saying that Lingard would only consider a loan move. And because Lingard, his contract has run out, he's got more power in these negotiations. If Lingard had a couple of years left on it, we could just sell Lingard and he would just go and join the club that we sold him to. But because he's a free transfer in the summer, I understand his trepidation about joining a club that could potentially get relegated. But this is the key for Manchester United today. This is the last time that United will have a chance to sell Lingard before his contract expires at the end of the season. And that encouraged Newcastle to consider a bid to sign him. I would love to see Manchester United sell Lingard. I think it would suit, mate. Of course, it would suit his career. Jesse, bro, you're not going to get that much game time at United. If you weren't going to get the game time after scoring those goals against West Ham and who was it? Newcastle, I think. Then you're not going to get that goal. You're not going to get that game time. You're not going to get in the England squad for the Winter World Cup coming up. If football and playing football is what he wants to do, he simply has to move away from Manchester United. Simple as that. It's not hard. But it's not happened, has it? It's not happened. I really can't pronounce your name here, my friend. But it's Nat. How you doing, Nat? Happy New Year to you, my friend, as a member. Nice to see you there. Ant saying somebody call Jesse and tell him I'll be there in 2 hours to drive him to Newcastle. I don't know why he's not moving. I really don't know why he's dragging his heels, why it's getting to this stage. Jesse just needs to, as I said, leave for his own career. I'm looking forward to getting a new light, by the way. Look how dark my face is over there. I hope the mic sounds better. I think the mic definitely sounds better, but the lighting is not quite there yet. The new lights are coming on Wednesday, and hopefully it'll be good. But David Ornstein has also given an update on Jesse Lingard this morning, saying that Newcastle, he was speaking on Sky Sports News, Newcastle United are prepared to throw everything to get Jesse Lingard. So I think that while some of us might have trepidation towards whether or not Manchester United are going to do anything in the January transfer window, I think there's still time for some actual movement to happen. I think Lingard, he should leave, man. He really should leave. For his own good, for the club's good, for everyone's good. He should leave. And I think Lingard could leave. Martial is a bigger question. I'm getting on to Martial next and the latest from Spain and Sevilla's move for him. But maybe get rid of both of those. Get a late move for a defensive midfielder. Am I dreaming? Yes. Is it outside the realms of possibility? No. I don't think that's unrealistic at all. For those two to leave and for United to get a central midfielder, that's what I want to see in the next 10 days anyway, if we get what we want. Chris, you're saying Jesse shouldn't go to a bottom club. He doesn't deserve it. Newcastle, they don't consider themselves a bottom. They are quite literally the richest club in the world now. If he went there for the next 6 months, it would be to help them avoid a relegation battle and become one of the central figures for stage 1, V1 of. It's like the early days of Man City, man, when they had players like Stephen Ireland, Ilano, Jolien Lescott, and just loads of other bang average players. Not bang average, but middlers. Bet middlers. They had loads of them. That was V1 of City, and look at City now, Paul, you're saying Lingard isn't moving because he's only interested in money. He's never really done anything of note consistently, which is why he never made the first team. Touch like a trampoline. I do love a trampoline. Everyone loves a trampoline in the right situation. But I think that's been a little bit unfair on Lingard, if I'm being completely honest. I think Lingard he's known as he's a very much a purple patch player. Remember that month under, was it Mourinho? When he scored like 5 goals. Got Premier League Player of the Month. He was always good for scoring at Wembley. Lingard, you can't really question his commitment. You can't really question his dedication, but you can question his overall quality and his overall ability. And ultimately, I think that's why he never really, I mean, he did hold himself in that team for a while, but when his form fell off a cliff, he never came back either. It's a bit like Anthony Martial right now. Lee, you're saying Lingard will be the star at Newcastle and he'll still be close to his family. I think I understand the trepidation about not going to Newcastle in case they get relegated, but go there, make a difference, and make sure they don't get relegated, and be one of the central figures of this exciting project that's happening. He'll become like a hero in Newcastle, and he won't leave Manchester United with any sort of scorn. United fans will support him and hope he does really well at Newcastle until we play him, and then we hope he plays shit. But moving on from Jesse Lingard, we got to speak about Anthony Martial. Anthony Martial is a far more complicated question, I think you can politely put it. It stinks, the whole situation that's gone on there. With Rangnick backtracking, with Martial's agent, it's just smoke and mirrors and soap opera. I don't need it. I don't want it at my club. But this is with the latest from Marca out in Spain. They're saying that Martial is still their priority, but they're eyeing Moussa Dembele as an alternative. We scroll down here and we read it here. Martial, the 25-year-old is Sevilla's main alternative if they fail to reach a deal to bring in Martial on loan, with the United forward remaining their main target. So Sevilla still want him, right? And the problem here is that I don't see Sevilla giving United what we want. We want Sevilla, and I think fair enough, right? We want Sevilla. You want our player on loan, you pay his wages. Very simple, very normal. They don't want to pay it because he's on inflated wages, like 150 grand a week, thereabouts, if not a little bit more. And they don't want to pay the loan fee. I think the loan fee is in around about 6 million as well. They don't want to pay that much money for Anthony Martial. Therefore, that's the stalemate. Conversations coming out from ESPN this morning that Bay and Martial are worried that United are pricing them out of loan moves, but I don't think it's not an unfair. It's not even slightly unfair. United asking for Martial's wages and a loan fee. What's wrong with that? That's not pricing someone out of a move. It's because you're on such an inflated contract that I think there's so many players at United over the years that have a bigger expectation of themselves in their own head because of the size of the contract that they signed. Marcus Rojo, Phil Jones, you could probably put him in there. Jesse Lingard, Anthony Martial, because they're on such huge numbers at Manchester United. They think they're a bigger fish elsewhere, and no other club can afford to bring that player in. He should be, if he cares about playing football, he'll take a pay cut and he'll go there. But if he doesn't, he'll moan about it and sit on United's bench and still have that pay packet. It is what it is, right? But that's part of Manchester United's problems of why we've struggled so often over the last 3-4 years of getting rid of players on huge contracts. I can see in the comments people are talking that he's on over 200 grand. I don't know what he's on. He's on a minimum 150. But you can, when it comes to player contracts, I think there's tons of speculation and assumption about exactly what the numbers are. All we know is he's on a lot of money and no one can really afford him, which is why Manchester United can't get rid of him. Really annoying as it is. What's your thoughts on that, though? What's your thoughts on the whole Martial situation? Type yes or no. Do you think there's any chance that Manchester United loan Martial out? Do you think he's going to get priced out of a move? Do you think he's going to stay? I don't want him at the club if he doesn't want to be at the club, man. No Martial agenda. No xenophobic agenda. No racist agenda. If a player doesn't want to play for my club, I don't want that player to play for my club. And that's very simple. Same goes to Jesse Lingard. Same goes for anybody else. But we can't seem to get anybody who can afford him. It's mad. Lots of you in the comments here. Adam Francis, you don't think he'll go. Anuj, you're saying you don't think he'll go. I don't personally think he'll go. I'd love for it to happen, but I don't think it will. The whole situation that came out because of his agent leaking to the press that he wanted to leave, and then Rangnick being pissed off with that, and then Rangnick and Martial's miscommunication after the Villa game. It was just like, mate, I can't be asked. I can't be asked. Can't be asked. Same thing with the Pogba situation. That's why I sort of like washed my hands of Pogba like that. I was like, cool, I'm done with that circus. But if Pogba wants to use his shop window, the club is a shop window for the next few months, and he plays blisteringly good football, then that benefits Manchester United. then I'll be all right with that. I don't think Pogba will sign that new deal, by the way. Absolutely certainly won't sign that new deal. Let's go down here and see. T, you're hoping that he gets sold, not on loan. We're definitely not going to sell him in January. That's for sure. But look, I would say that's the majority of the stories covered today. We could speak about Haaland, but we don't need to speak about Haaland. That United are out of the race to sign Erling Haaland, says Mark Ogden from ESPN. Okay, what does that change for us in the next 10 days? I'm not speaking about the summer. We can have all those conversations in the world when we're speaking about who's going to replace Cavani or who's going to replace Ronaldo. But I'm not wasting my time speaking about Haaland in January. I'm not wasting your time either. We need to focus on what can change us between now and the end of the season. And whether or not we're in for Haaland does not change that. Now, Ronaldo, we could have a conversation about. I'm not sure I can. Do I want to? Why not? I suppose. Let's do it. We'll end the transfer talk there for a little bit. We can go back to it towards the end, but let's talk about there was a huge report that came out from The Athletic this morning on Cristiano Ronaldo. If you haven't read it, please give it a read. You know what I think about The Athletic? They're excellent. Really are. And it was a report from Laurie Whitwell, David Ornstein, and Adam Crafton. And it was about Ronaldo, about what's happened since he rejoined the club, XYZ, the conversations that were all happening. And they offer a bit of insight into what's going on behind the scenes. And that's where we need to discuss that. I'm going to run through a few key points from the article because it's really important, right? This is what they're saying. The Athletic has been told that several of United's younger players feel Ronaldo can be difficult to approach, with sources suggesting Cavani, even in broken English, is a more unifying presence. During his period at Juve, regular observers felt that less experienced players such as Dybala shrank in his presence, while defender Bonucci has since claimed that Juve are more of a team, even though they're fifth in Serie A, and he won 2 titles in 3 years with them. What's your opinion on that story that's come out there? My immediate reaction to that story was this on Twitter this morning. Where is it? Scroll down here. People are talking about Ronaldo being a negative presence. I showed them this. I was like, you can try and call him a negative presence if you want, but this, I believe, was after the second goal against Brentford. No, yeah, against Brentford, 2-0 up. Or was it 3-0 up? I don't know. One of them. And Ronaldo's out here bringing everyone in a huddle, giving a team talk and telling everyone what to do, keep their heads in the game. Really looks like a player who's not a unifying presence, doesn't it? I don't know what people are trying to do with Ronaldo, right? I find it odd. It happened when he got taken off and people were... the title of my video yesterday is that Ronaldo was angry with Rangnick, because he was angry with Rangnick. But Rangnick, after the game, really spoke about it and said, look, Ronaldo's 36. I made a mistake against Villa. I didn't make the same mistake here. I'm sure he understands that. When he's a coach, or if he is a coach, he'll see that through my glasses and he'll understand it. And it was, yeah, cool. I think Ronaldo was frustrated and angry. I think he was frustrated with the performance overall of himself, having to run around, kind of isolated in a 4-3-3. Frustrated that he hit the bar, that he didn't get the goal that he wanted, and frustrated that he got taken off because he's the greatest goal scorer of all time and he wanted to score more goals. That wasn't because he was angry, hugely angry at Rangnick. It was angry at the fact that he was taken off, which are kind of two different things. But I don't know why people are trying to assassinate the character of Cristiano Ronaldo and call him an ununifying presence. You can talk about his arms flapping in the air, but Ronaldo has every right to be pissed off. He's won it. He's won everything. He's won everything. Let's scroll down and read a bit more here about what was said. The matter has not been helped within games, with Ronaldo's flapping arms in killer glares, leading some players to wilt rather than bloom in his presence at United. Who's the problem then? The wilting players, or 5-time Champions League winning, 6-time Ballon d'Or winning? Is it 6 or 7? I don't know. Ballon d'Or winning, Premier League winning, La Liga winning, Serie A winning Cristiano Ronaldo, or the players that wilt when he looks at them? I'm not sure who the problem is there. But I don't think it's Ronaldo. Let's go down here. Now, this part I found quite interesting, because maybe we're looking in the wrong place, and we all we are. Well-connected sources have compared Ronaldo's approach to that of Ibra at AC Milan, where he's been credited as a massive influence in developing the spirit and unity of a young side. Yet even Ibra was driven to distraction at Old Trafford subsequently complaining about being charged on his payslip for a juice and describing the club as having a small, closed mentality. And maybe that's the issue here. It's all symptomatic of the problem of the club and the culture of the club. When I thought that was something that Solskjaer really did help to try and improve. But maybe the problems are still there. Well, we know the problems are still there. You can see how Manchester United are playing, eh? Anthony, you're asking whether do you think Keane would baby players if they didn't play well? No. Keane would slag them off on MUTV and then have to leave the club because of it. Well, did he slag them off? We've never seen the interview. But obviously that was a big part of why Keane left Manchester United, because he was criticising the younger players, because he was doing it on the club's channel and he wasn't holding back. And Fergie didn't like it. We go down here and we read a little bit more. Several members of Solskjaer's backroom staff shared Ronaldo's view about, and it's a widely held perspective at United, for instance, that the world is Greenwood's oyster if he further increases his concentration and application. That's kind of fair enough. But I'll tell you what, I really, really liked this quote here. Is exactly how every United player should be looking at Cristiano Ronaldo, right? This. Where is it? Down here. Fabio Paratici, the former chief football officer at Juve. Champions like Ronaldo are like thoroughbred horses, the ones that are a pleasure to watch on your ranch or in your pasture. It's like having a painting by Picasso at home and getting to see it every day. If it becomes the kind of situation that gets taken for granted, you're the problem. And I couldn't agree any more with that. Anybody who's trying to, I know you can talk about Ronaldo, it might be a tactical problem in terms of he wasn't part of the plan going forward and we're having to make some switches, X, Y, Z. But to try and discredit him as a professional, to try and discredit him as an influence is bonkers. It's fucking mental. He is the thoroughbred. He is literally the thoroughbred horse. What's the name of that horse? Altior. I think it was Altior. Absolutely dominated every single time it ran. Guaranteed. That's what Ronaldo is. And every single player inside that dressing room should count themselves so goddamn lucky that they're getting to share a pitch with the greatest player of all time. When they're old and grey, they're going to be telling everybody that they played alongside Cristiano Ronaldo and pointing towards the shirt that he signed for them. They should be trying to learn everything that this guy does. He's 36, 37. He's a physical machine. He's basically the T-1000 in Terminator 2. That guy morphs. Best villain ever, by the way, in a film. Terminator 2. One of my favourite films, alongside Braveheart. Oh, top tier films, both of them. But that's what Ronaldo is. 36, he's got the body of like a 25-year-old. Coke, pushing that away. Water, bringing that in. He's somebody who's treated his body like a temple, and it's what's allowed him to achieve what he has achieved. And because he put all that work in, he's sitting there going, why are these kids not doing what I was doing? And the culture has changed massively in the last 18 years. Of course it has. And it's something I think that he can't get his head around. And absolutely, probably one of the best comments ever, by the way, from Josh. Enemy at the gate. Jude Law. What's his face? Ed Harris. That's in my top films as well. What's his? Vasily Zaitsev. Look at that. My God, what a bloke. I am sometimes. But look, we're going to get distracted now. But we've got McManny saying, stop lying. He can't run like Cavani will. I don't care about. I don't care about that. Ronaldo's the greatest goal scorer of all time. We should want everybody to be like him in application and in how they approach the game professionally. It is what it is. But look, to wrap up here today, we've already got Arizona on the map. We'll only get one on the map today. We'll get Arizona because we're talking about transfers and it's been the main focus. But are we going to sign anybody? The three players being linked, the two players being linked are Denis Zakaria and Amadou Haidara. Two very different midfielders, both who could improve Manchester United for sure. It strikes me as Zakaria would be the more suitable signing for the 4-3-3 if we're looking at an alternative to McTominay. If we're looking at someone who's going to play in a pressing system, Amadou Haidara ticks that box far more. Both of them being linked. We've got 10 days left in the window. As I said, I'm going to do my predicted West Ham 11 after this. Get it out before lunchtime, around about lunchtime anyway. We'll have that conversation for the rest of the day. Then tomorrow, we've got the game at 3 p.m. against West Ham. Then we've got 9 days until the end of the transfer window. And we need to get rid of Lingard. We need to get rid of Martial. And we need a central midfield signing. Will all three happen? I don't think so. Can all three happen? You can't rule it out, right? I don't think you can rule it out. But I will be here on United People's TV, bringing you all the latest. I've tried to give you a complete update, analysis, run through of everything, the situation that we're in right now. We're waiting for movement. I've told you everything that's happened with Zakaria, Haidara, and Kessie, and with Lingard and Martial. They're your 5 main likely sources of movement, right? And we'll follow them. So please, if you would, consider subscribing to United People's TV if you're still here. I will be here throughout the window, covering it all for you. Ronaldo had a little conversation about that there. Maybe I'll do Ronaldo in a bit more depth. During the international break, I'll probably do a big in-depth video on the Ronaldo situation, because at that point, we'll have a bit more time to sit back and assess and analyze. But look, have a cracking Friday, everybody. Get vibey. Thank you for joining in today. Hope you enjoyed it. Take it easy.